For this installation video, we're going to be installing our shock therapy dual rate spring kit as well as our front limit strap kit. Now that we have all the nuts loose, we are going to disconnect the Smart Shock adjuster down on the end loop. Now that the two bolts are out, you can remove the adjuster and it can go off to the side for now. Also remember to disconnect the live valve adjuster up at the top of the shock connected to the bridge. All right guys, we're gonna be measuring the preload and crossover. Preload and crossover is measured from the base of the shock, and you are gonna be doing 4 and 7. 4 on the preload, 7 on the crossover. One very important step before we install the spring kit, we are going to install the front limit strap kit. In order to run the front limit strap kit, your right shock becomes your left shock and your left shock becomes your right shock. When the shocks are on the car, right and left, the adjuster is on the back side. So once swapping the shocks, you'll know you have it correctly when you go to install, and the adjuster is on the front side of the car. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set up the limit strap kit for installation. Apply a little Loctite. And a dab of red on the end of this. Let's go ahead and lock it down. Do the same to the other side. Now we're going to put them onto the actual clamp. And how we like to set them up here is we do 2 threads on the top. Go ahead and set it down. Get your 19 millimeter. Give it a turn. Just like that, they're ready to install. When installing the limit strap clamp, there is the adjuster and the clamp itself. There is a very, very tight clearance on the inside. You want to have it as close as you can to the top without hitting the adjuster on the bridge. Have it at a nice angle that it's going to come down and be able to hook up right on the strap. Now that this shock's done, I'm going to take it off the vise here, set it on the cart, get this next one set up, and then we'll get it all sprung up. And now we're ready to spring. Always make sure the ends of the springs are 180 degrees from each other when installing your spring kit. Because we are swapping sides on the adjuster and the shock, what you need to do is you need to cut these 2 zip ties so that you can swap the shocks and plug it in. Be careful not to cut the wires, but you need just a little extra slack to be able to plug into the front side. Ball joint back here. Now we're going to be installing the bolt that we supply, having the washer on the stud side. Before you impact the bolt in, you want to make sure that it's on the threads. So we're going to use a ratchet first to make sure we've got it seated. Once we've got it seated, we can go ahead and impact it on. You need to pay attention to this nipple right here. On reinstall onto the end loop, there's also a slot where that goes into. You want to make sure that you install it properly by having the nipple inserted into the same spot on the end loop. Go ahead and reinstall your screws, and then we'll move on to the next side. If you pulled this grommet out right here, for easier access with the wire, just make sure you reinstall that. Don't forget to plug in your guys' live valve adjusters. Now we're going to install the limit strap. Now you got to jack it up so you can tighten them down. Go ahead and drop her down. And now we can install the tethers. And now we're going to install the spring kit on the rear of the Maverick R. This installation should take you guys anywhere from 2 to 3 days, depending on how many beers you drink. In order to get the lower bolt out for the rear shock on the Maverick R, you do have to remove the upper hardware of the link to get the lower bolt out. I just smashed my finger. The transmission. You're just gonna want to put that down right there. Don't forget to unplug the live valve adjuster as well. Now we're going to set the preload and crossover on the rear to 9 and 15. Okay, we're going to save the strap for later in the video for installation on the lower shock bolt. When installing the rear limit strap clamp, you have this adjuster to be aware of. You cannot have it right in line with it because then you cannot plug the plug in for the live valve adjuster. So what we do is we go directly above it, in line with the end loop, and then go ahead and lock her down. So we're right above it. Now we can go ahead and lock it down. Now we're ready for spring. Now let's go install it on the car. All right guys, now we're gonna install the smart shock adjuster. Just like on the fronts, it still has that little nipple on it. So you wanna make sure that you find the slot for the nipple to go into on the lower end loop. Once you've got that pushed in, you can go ahead and install your hardware. All right, now that we have that installed, we had removed the wire from all the grommets. So just want to put those back in the grommets. Now earlier when I was putting on the limit strap clamp to the actual shock and putting on the clevis, I said to hold off on installing the limit strap itself. The reason we do that is because the way this is set up, you have to have the lower bolt in before you can actually attach it to the clevis. So what we do is we put it through here. Just like this. Get the rear bolt in there. Just like that. Washer and nut on the back side. And then once we get the car back on the ground with the wheels on, we can then go ahead and attach the clevis to the strap, or the strap to the clevis, and then lock it down, and then we can tighten everything down and check our ride height. Don't forget to plug in your live valve adjusters. Now we can attach the limit strap to the clevis. And now we gotta jack the car up in order to tighten the lower bolt. Now that the strap's all tight, we can tighten it down. Now that we have the limit strap installed, we are going to attach the limit strap tether. Just like that. Now that we got the shocks installed and everything ready to go, we are going to reattach the sway bar link.